there's a moment where something starts to feel off. The world doesn't seem to follow a clear logic anymore. Events feel disconnected. Explanations don't match outcomes. And the more closely you follow what's happening, the harder it becomes to make sense of it. At some point, it begins to feel like you've stepped into Wonderland. If you've already seen the first video, you've done something important. You didn't just notice it. You decided not to stay in Wonderland. And that decision matters. Because most people either react to what they see or turn away from it. Very few take the step to actually understand it. If you're here, you're already moving in that direction. And this is where that starts to take shape. But that raises a natural question. How do you actually do that? How do you move from seeing events to understanding what is really driving them? In this video, we show you how to approach that problem and how to use the next big cycle to move from confusion to structured understanding. If this feels new, start with part 1 of Don't Be Alice, the video about why the world can feel like Wonderland. But for now, let's take the next step. Because the world is not driven by a single cause, a single actor, or a single explanation, it behaves as a complex system. Economic forces, political structures, institutional incentives, social behavior, and technological change all interact, often in non-linear ways, and often over long periods of time. What you see as an event is usually just the visible outcome of those interactions. But there is another layer in between that is just as important. What you see is not just shaped by events, but by how those events are interpreted. Different people can look at the same situation and come to completely different conclusions. Not because reality is different, but because perception is different. Narratives, framing, and interpretation shape how reality is understood. And those perceptions influence behavior, which in turn feeds back into the system itself. So if you want to understand what is happening, you need to look at 3 things at the same time: what is happening, how it is being interpreted, and what underlying forces are driving it. That is what makes understanding the world difficult, and that is why a structured approach is necessary. To make that structure usable, TNBC is built around a consistent method. At the center of that is the TNBC signal framework. It provides a structured way to move from observation to understanding by identifying what matters, how it connects, and where it fits within the system. This framework is used across all TNBC content. Most of the time, you won't see it directly, but it shapes how each episode is built, how signal is extracted, and how different elements connect. Because it is so central, we dedicate a separate video to it. That is where we walk through it step by step and show how to use it in practice. Once you see it, you will start to recognize it across everything we do. And once you start to see this, it becomes clear that the same underlying dynamics appear across very different situations. Whether it is a modern policy decision, like trade tariffs and global economic shifts, a historical example of information control, such as the Volksempfänger in the 1930s, a turning point in global trade, like the Opium Wars, or how these dynamics are explored in well-known dystopian worlds, or even developments in culture and media, like the rise of early animation characters such as Betty Boop. The surface looks completely different, but the underlying forces and how they interact follow recognizable patterns. But how you approach that structure depends on you. Different people have different interests, different starting points, and different goals. So TNBC is not designed as a single path. It is designed as a system you can navigate in your own way. On this map, you see 3 different paths. Each represents a way to approach understanding, depending on where you start and how you prefer to learn. Some begin with real-world events and work toward understanding. Others start with the concepts and build a foundation first. And some learn by recognizing patterns across history and the present. There is no single correct path, but all of them lead to the same goal, a structured way to understand how the world actually works. Let's look at each of them. Some people start with what they already recognize. They take path 1, starting from real-world events. They see something happening in the world, something that feels important or confusing, and they want to understand it. For that, you can begin with TNBC Insights. These episodes start from real-world events. They take situations you immediately recognize, current developments, economic shifts, political decisions, and break them down step by step. They show how those events connect to deeper forces. Each episode is structured to help you move from observation to understanding. And for those who want to go further, each one is accompanied by a reference sheet. This highlights which parts of the signal framework are relevant to that situation and points you to the specific explainers across part 1 and 2 that deepen your understanding of those dynamics. Others prefer to build a foundation first. They want to understand the concepts before applying them. For that, TNBC provides the explainers. Explainers 1 and 2 form the core knowledge building blocks of the system. They introduce the fundamental concepts, how power operates, how incentives shape behavior, how systems are structured, and how different forces interact. You can follow them step by step as a structured course or select specific topics based on your interest. And you can combine both approaches. You can start with real-world examples and use them as entry points into deeper understanding. Or you can build the theoretical foundation first and then apply it to what you see. There is no single correct path. It depends on how you prefer to learn and what you want to achieve. History Rhymes adds another dimension. Here, we take situations from the past, such as the Weimar Republic in the 1930s, developments in the film industry, or events that reshaped global power, and analyze them using the same lens. Then we place a present-day situation next to it and ask a simple question: does history rhyme? Each episode follows that structure, starting with the historical case, analyzing it, and then connecting it to a current situation. And like Insights, these episodes are supported by reference sheets. They help you identify the relevant signals and guide you toward the concepts that explain them. Together, these elements allow you to move between observation, interpretation, and understanding, from seeing events to recognizing patterns to understanding the forces behind them. You will find most of this on YouTube. The website organizes everything into a structured overview and allows you to navigate the system more systematically. The newsletter goes deeper into specific topics and connections. And on X, we share updates and general remarks. And this is where the journey begins. Once you stop reacting to every headline, you create space to see patterns. What once felt chaotic starts to form structure. What once looked disconnected starts to reveal direction. That is the shift the next big cycle is built around. But to make that shift practical, you need a method. In the next video, we look at what this changes in real life, why this way of thinking matters, and how it helps you make sense of the world around you. After that, we introduce the TNBC signal framework, the tool we use to move from noise to signal in a structured and consistent way. And then we apply it, step by step, to the first real-world case. So if you want to follow this journey, subscribe to The Next Big Cycle. Because the point is not to chase every event. The point is to understand what is driving them. See you in the next one.